Hi, and welcome to the 64 Doors. Today we're going to open door 5. Here we find an archetype that is all about patterns, timing, and patience. We're going to explore this archetype from a human design perspective and a Jinky perspective. Here we see the red mandala with all the gates and all the astrological signs. And right now we have the sun in Sagittarius in gate 5. We have the earth in Gemini in gate 35. And the design part of the cross is the 64 in Virgo and the 63 in Pisces. So if you're born these 5.7 days when we have the sun in gate 5, you're going to have one of 3 incarnation crosses. The first cross is the cross of consciousness, and it says you are here to be in the flow of life. You can also have the cross of habits, and that says your cross brings the energy of patterns and habits, and you're here to have a strong influence on those patterns. The third cross is the cross of separation, and it says your cross has the energy that wants to march on its own beat. And of course, you can read more about them here. You're seeing as well that the first cross has the 64 and the 63 on the design side, and the next 2 crosses has to have the 47 and the 22. So the cross is not a 90-degree cross, it's an 88-degree cross. That's why it's shifting. Although all 3 of them have the 5 and the 35 on the conscious side, in the sun and the earth. You can also go to your gene keys and make your gene key profile. In the activation sequence, you're going to have these four energies, 4 gates, 4 gene keys, and you can learn about them separately and kind of weave your own destiny story. The incarnation cross, the activation sequence, together with the lines are 70% of who we are. Very important. It's the activation of the sun and the earth. It's the neutrino stream. So it's very big part of our imprint. If we go back to the standard view of your human design, we are going to see that the 5 comes from the Sacral Center and it's point up towards the 15 in the G center. In the circuitry book, you can see that this channel is a channel of rhythm. It's a design of being in the flow. And it says you're a very magnetic person. You pull everyone you meet into your natural rhythm. If the world seems chaotic, it's because you are. You are in the flow. If you're in the flow, everything you do, it's effortless. So this is the connection with both gates. If we look at just the 5, we're going to see that it's a little bit different. It's half of it. So people need fixed rhythms and routines in life. And this goes back to the keywords of like the habits or the patterns that are the same every day, the fixed patterns, you could say, like rituals, the power to repeat, the breath of life. And the knowing in the 5th gate that everything is happening for a reason and at the perfect timing. That's like kind of the trust in life that the 5 has. And it's also the Achilles heel here that it can feel uncomfortable when the fixed rhythms are stirred up or disrupted. And that's exactly what gate 15 can do. So we have in the 64 doors, we're calling the 15 the wild woman. So of course the wild woman can come and stir things up. And the same thing if we think about the opposite side of the wheel. So the programming partner, that's the 35, and the 35 is the adventurer. So that's also this energy of stirring it up. So the 5th archetype kind of has that challenge of being paired with those other ones. And that's the thing, the discomfort or the outside of comfort zone is what makes us grow. And that's really what the harmonic gate and the programming partner are here to bring. If we go into the gene keys, we see the frequency band. We can live out this energy of patterns and timing in a low frequency, and then it's an impatient energy. And in the higher frequencies, it's patience and timelessness. Again, we see this programming partner, the opposite side of the wheel that we saw in the beginning in the Rave Mandala. So here we have hunger that goes together with impatience, adventure together with patience. And that's kind of an interesting one. And you're going to understand it if you read about it in 64 Doors, or if you go even to the Gene Key book, you're going to understand like why patience and adventure go hand in hand, and boundlessness and timelessness. Here in the shadow frequency, we do have patterns that are like very much what I feel like are alive right now. So being pessimistic or being pushy. And we can even like take where the world stage is right now with a pandemic. Like you can be very pessimistic about it, or you can be kind of angry and not want to follow the rules and the regulations. And both of them are kind of either repressive or reactive. And this is why the higher frequencies, the patience, and also being able to see kind of the adventure. Like a year ago, we could never expect that this was going to happen. And now it's here. So like, why not make it an adventure? For me, in a way, it's an adventure to be in the same place for 10 months. It's never happened in my life before. So it's something new. And can I have that attitude? Really, the difference between the low frequency and the higher frequency uh, in the gene key frequency band is the attitude. Like, do you have like a pessimistic and contracted and negative attitude about something, or can you can you meet it with curiosity and see the possibilities? Let's go to the I Ching, waiting water over heaven. And here we say pregnant with the waters of life. And you can see in this geometry, it's water over heaven. So heaven over heaven, it was make up gene key 1, 2 trigrams of heaven. And then we have water over water is making up gene key 29. So here we can see the braid that we have, if you remember, gene key 1, entropy, freshness, beauty. And then we have gene key 21, half-heartedness, commitment, devotion. So basically, the 5 is made up of these two energies. So either it's impatience, is half-heartedness with entropy. Patience is commitment to freshness, and timelessness is devotion to beauty. And astrology, we are still in Sagittarius. This is the seeker energy, philosopher, vision, quester, and explorer. It's about faith and exploration. It's service to spirit through the intuitive pursuit of truth. And it's mutable fire. Integral human design. So here we have the same channel that we found in the circuitry book. And it's very interesting with the integral human design because we can see how the two shadow frequencies of the gates are coming together. So here when we have the 5 and the 15, we have dullness and impatience. That's lifelessness. And then the higher frequencies, rhythm and symphony. It's the stream of service, dissatisfaction, service, and truth. And we have the sacral inner energy, reaction, response, and flow. The codon ring is very, very powerful. We're looking at it already last week in the 9, and I'm actually going to read it. The ring of light forms a set of 4 chemical codes whose ultimate role is to determine the blueprint of how your body captures, stores, and transmutes light waves into energy. Through the magnetism of your living aura, you draw in or limit the frequencies of light deep into the cellular structure of your body. If you live your life out of fear, magnetically speaking, you limit the amount of light that touches your DNA. The more open-hearted you are, the more you magnetize higher frequency into that very same DNA. It is only at a certain frequency that that particular codes can be activated. The codon ring addresses the central message of the entire gene key transmission, that you as a human being will the power to consciously or unconsciously raise or lower the frequency of light entering your body, thereby altering your reality through the medium of your DNA. Super exciting. And the dream arc, we have plankton, elephant, and goose. You have Jane Addams' Gene Key Diary, where she's painting these. We also have the mudra. You can get the whole library. This is the mudra that also Jane is painting every week. And I'm just looking to see that we have gone through all the parts of the living library. The physiology is the sacral plexus. So that's something that I'm also thinking we're going to go more into next year. So basically, we're going to go through all the gates, starting with gate 3. And that ties together with something that Richard wrote several years ago when he was still into human design. I got this book many years ago. It's The Wheel of Deconditioning. And basically it starts in gate 3. That's the eternal child. That's the innovation, the innocent child, you could say, that where we start. So the deconditioning starts in gate 3 in Aries. And then we go through all the gates. And this is like when our DNA is changing and we are pulling off layers of conditioning and of pressure from the outside and from culture and from our ancestors and all these things. So we go through the gates and we peel off these things to come back into alignment with our true self. And when we speak about this in human design, usually we said it takes 7 years because that's the time for all the cells to basically change out in your body. What we're going to do next year is that we're going to walk through the gates, and we're already going to have the whole library of the 64 archetypes. So we're going to bring in a lot more about our physiology, like the biological part. Like, what is this in the body? What is this in our health? We're going to bring in the Godheads. We're going to bring in the codon rings and understand the amino acids. So much. And it's really for people that want to learn not only about your own profile, but really just decondition everything that's there and maybe also work with other people and become guides into this. So you can see that there are 7 phases in the deconditioning, and we're going to walk it in a year. This is going to be like a fast forward thing in a way. So the first phase is disintegration. The second phase is education. The third phase is alignment. The fourth phase is initiation. The fifth phase is quickening. The sixth phase is awakening. And the seventh phase is integration. And I have done this for me since the beginning, or I didn't know it in the very, very beginning. And then I had the date when I first made my chart. And I'm in my year 7 now, since the date that I took the date when I actually did my first session with Rosie Aronson. And so I'm in the kind of integration phase of it. And for me, it's all about spiral dynamics. For me, there's another round now, and maybe I can thread it. It's still going to be a disintegration. We're always evolving. We're never done. It's not just one loop. It's always a new opportunity. So to thread the next phase with a little bit more expansion, a little bit more compassion, a little bit more gentleness, a little bit more love. And that's why it's so exciting to me that we're going to do it as a group journey next year. So why I want to speak about it here in the 5th gene key is that if we look at this whole pathway, we see that we are right now this is the half point of this is the half point. 50 is the half point where we could say that more than half our cells are like kind of clean and free. Free is a better word of conditioning. And that's really, like, you see, initiations, like when we start to kind of live at a higher frequency. So here we are a little bit after that, and we are in this kind of phase of quickening. And I want to read the 5 from a perspective of deconditioning. Like, what happens when this 5 gets activated, and what are you shedding? So it's a very interesting book. I even think that the link on it is on the website. So I'm just going to go down to the 5th gate here, and we're going to read, like, what is the 5th gate in the deconditioning process? Finally, the sequence moves through the 5th gate, which fixes a new pattern into us at the deepest cellular level. This is another of those key points in the sequence, and it may be experienced as a moment of epiphany. All cellular rhythms have fixed patterns, which can mutate from time to time. When a fixed rhythm does mutate, it is quite an event because it can never return to the same level as it was before. This is an evolutionary key. If, for instance, we make a true inner leap in consciousness, we can never again return to our previous state, but remain at the higher state until our next leap. It's kind of that spiral we're speaking about, right? The teaching of the fifth gate is patience. Anyone who's not patient does not understand life. This is a universal fact. The fifth gate teaches us that everything comes in its own time. Nowhere is this truer than in our relationships. Patience is the greatest lessons of relationships, as any mother will tell you. So this is also very interesting to see that already years ago, when Richard was into human design and he was doing this book of deconditioning, he's really highlighting relationships as that pathway. And that's what we know through the Venus sequence that is very activated now with 2,600 people in it. That that is really the path of love. It's the path of contemplation of our relationships and the mirroring and the growing and the getting to know ourselves and the other and kind of the human predicament through relationships. And that's even here very apparent. So what does this week bring to us? Well, this is the question, are you patient in your life? How much patience do you have? Because if you don't have that, you're kind of going to have this battle with time, or even battle with like the universe or with God. So in the 64 doors, we do have a lot of questions for contemplations. And some of them are, do you have a daily rhythm? Because that is, we can even see it in the first line of the SQ. Having a daily rhythm, like a rhythm, routine, certainty, can really help human beings to kind of like, kind of not hook life on something, but a little bit like we have something to kind of be in rhythm with. And some people feel like that is monotonous, that's really kind of boring and it's not their way of living. And for some people, it really helps. So what kind of person are you in that sense? And it's also about rituals. So what rituals do you have in your life? For example, if you're a woman, you're going to have a moon cycle. So what ritual can you create around that? How can you honor like nature through yourself? How can you, maybe if you're a man, the moon phases or something else? I heard something about men's um rhythms or men's cycles being the sun and the woman is the moon, so that might make sense. So what is it like day and night, and or what does it make for you in the winter when the day is getting shorter? Right now, for example, if you're a man, does that give you more or less energy? Like how does it show up for you? And it's also good to look at, because this is a collective circuitry, so it's good to look at the people around you. Like, do you feel bored when they kind of want to do the same thing? Do you want to, like, how can you shake things up? Or can you be patient with them that they actually need rhythm and routine? And then this gate is fixed patterns and it's connected to the 15 that is all about kind of nature. It's the wild woman. So like, how connected are you to your wild woman or your wild man? How connected are you to nature? How much time do you get outside? How connected are you to the Schumann resonance? Do you feel when it spikes? Do you feel like when it's down? Like, how connected are you to that electromagnetic rhythm of Mother Earth? And then really again, like the timing of life. How much do you trust that things are happening in the right timing? How good are you at not feeling frustrated, although it's Thanksgiving and holiday times and you might not be able to go and see your family, and maybe you did like the Zoom dinner instead of doing the real dinner? Like, how trusting are you with these events that are happening right now that are different from before? So maybe there's a kind of mutation in this. Maybe there's a kind of initiation, a kind of quickening in being able to deal with adaptation to things that we haven't had to adapt to before. So I wish you all a good week with a lot of patience, and I will be back next week. Thank you.